From Tridio Media, I'm Father Roderick, and this is the Daily Breakfast. Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Daily Breakfast. And today I want to talk about the movie Black Panther. It is the latest installment in the Marvel superheroes series. And of course, as you know, I'm a massive fan of those movies. I've been watching all of them, some of them multiple times because I love them so much. And this one was hyped so much. And I deliberately used the word hype because in the last few times that I was in the movie theaters, they always played this trailer. I saw it all over the web. It was just, there was no escape. And everybody said this is going to be the best Marvel movie ever because it's Black Panther and it's cool and it's different. But I have to say, watching the trailer, I wasn't immediately on board. It was like, okay, it looks fine. It looks good. Just I will see it because it's Marvel. But I did not expect this to be such a massive, a movie that everybody was hyping even before the movie hit the theaters. Well, I watched it on one of the first days that it came out here in the Netherlands. And today I want to give you my honest review. It has good sides and bad sides. I have to be honest, I was a bit disappointed that it wasn't the best Marvel movie ever. And that's how I went into the movie theater, like expecting something that would completely blow me away. And I was amused. I was entertained. It was an okay Marvel movie. Certainly not the best one. And it was very different. And perhaps that is why it became such a hit with the critics who were all giving this like 10 out of 10. The first box office results are out of this world. And I honestly have to wonder what is the reason, because it's not the quality of the movie itself. Let me start with the good stuff. And then I will give you a few of the things that I didn't like that much. And then I'll give you some more good stuff to end with, because of course I want to stay positive. But let's start with the good stuff. What I already mentioned, this movie is very different from all the other Marvel movies. It is about a character that is not like joining the ranks of the Hulk and Thor and Iron Man. To me, Black Panther was not that well known. I've heard from comic book fans, Marvel comic book fans, that the Black Panther and his backstory is a big deal in the Marvel universe. But let's say in Europe or here in the Netherlands, really nobody had ever heard of Black Panther before we saw him on the screen. So, Black Panther is a superhero that is linked to a lineage, a royal lineage. So there is this fictitious African country, Wakanda, somewhere in the, let's say, northeastern part, the sub-Sahara part of Africa. And this country has a massive resource, a big pile of very rare metal. Comes from a meteor that hits that particular country. And that, I forgot what it was, like a special alloy or whatever. No, not an alloy, but anyway, so they have created incredible technology, but they hide it from the rest of the world. There is this kind of like this protective shield that makes it look like an impenetrable rainforest, but underneath that shield is actually a sprawling city full of technology and full of cool things. And that kind of sets the stage for what makes this story so interesting. This is about an African country that is perhaps the most powerful African country of the continent, but that wants to keep everything for themselves. They are very protective. They are afraid that if the word would get out, they would get pillaged like so many other African countries. And so the whole theme of colonialism and what the Western part of the world has done to the African continent is a major theme of this movie. That, I think, is also why a lot of the critics loved this movie, because this is a theme that we rarely see on the movie screen at all, let alone in a big budget Marvel superhero story or environment. So that is very, very cool. What I also loved is the way they portray Wakanda. This country is both high tech. It kind of looks a bit like Coruscant in Star Wars, but it's got this African vibe, and the costumes are amazing. They are superhero costumes, but at the same time have this very African feel to it, and they were inspired by a lot of the traditional garments, etc., from various African countries. And even the kind of the accent of a lot of the actors, some of the actors have never been in Africa. They were born in the United States, but they have had great language coaches that have trained them to use a bit of an African accent that really works. So that is convincing, it's cool, and it's very different from other Marvel movies. World building is really good. But I also liked the bad guy. Now, every good movie needs a good bad guy, and sometimes these superhero movies don't deliver on that. Justice League. But this movie has a great this is perhaps the best bad guy that Marvel has ever given us, because this bad guy has very understandable motives. You totally get why he does what he does, and for at least for part of it, you even would join him in at least his reasoning. Of course, kind of, you may have good intentions or you may have a justified cause, but the way in which he wants to put that into action is morally totally wrong. So, but it's a great bad guy, great actors. That's another thing that I really liked about this movie. Fantastic actors. All of them are good. They're all famous. I mean, there's not one single role in this movie that is not casted, with top notch. So the actors are great. The downside is that every time there's a new character introduced, you're like, where do I know? Which movie was that person again? Oh, wasn't he the Guerrera guy from Rogue One? And wasn't she in and that is a bit distracting because they're so well known, but they deliver. It's great acting, and this story uses it. Again, what I said, the theme of the colonialism, the trauma it caused on that continent, very important. Well integrated. It also has a political message, this movie, more than any other Marvel movie that I've seen. There were already a few movies that were getting more political. This one is very much about the temptation of isolationism, I should say. And the message is, of course, do we want to build bridges or do we erect barriers? They don't use the word walls, but it's implied, if you see what I mean. Also, really like the nice balance between male and female roles. But there was also a lot wrong with this movie. Let me start with the music. The music is a mess. It is all over the place. I did not like it. The second thing that I really didn't like, the special effects. This is a special effects heavy movie, but they are horrible. They're so wonky, plain bad. It looks as if we're kind of regressing 10 years. Some of the scenes look like I'm watching an animated movie. It's really awful. I cannot believe that some of the stuff looks so bad. It's one of the worst Marvel movies that I've seen, of the modern Marvel movies, that doesn't deliver in special effects. What I also didn't like, the African cliches. They're like everything that Westerners associate with the African culture is like exaggerated. It's a cliche. The music, the way people dress, the constant dancing in scenes, like this weird dance, and it's like it's trying to evoke African dance, but it is so over the top. I was like, I'm watching. I know the director is African American, and yet I'm thinking this is a Western view of African culture. So I haven't read that many African reviews of this yet, but I'm curious if they feel the same. The final fight scene, which should be the best and the most exhilarating, it looks awful. You're in this wonderful Wakanda country and everything in the movie is great. And then the entire final scene is underground and it's dark and it's like, no, it's Phantom Menace awful. It is Tron 2 awful. Ugh. And finally, the message, even though I like the theme and I like that a superhero movie is going beyond kind of the cliches of the genre and tries to have a message for the world, the message is sometimes very heavy-handed and on the nose. And I think this is because it's an American movie and it's geared towards an American audience. And I think it worked really well in a U.S. context. For me as a European, I was like, Yeah, I get it. I get what you want to say. I don't know. And then the final niggle is they use a lot of a special effect, which is a sand, kind of like moving sand that can create objects. And they use it all the time. Like there's no scene without the sand table stuff. And it's gimmicky. It's an overused special effect, and it doesn't even look that good. So like, okay, I get it. So all in all, did I like this movie? Yes. If I hadn't read all the reviews that were raving about it, would I have enjoyed it more than now? Yeah, absolutely. But since this movie was so hyped and so everybody's like, this is the best thing ever. This is going to be the biggest movie of the year. And I'm watching this and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, if this movie would be a half an hour shorter, I would have enjoyed it more. So I'm just perfectly honest, not my favorite movie. And then my final thing that I'm going to say is there is potential in this movie that the next time I'll see it, I'll enjoy it more. And this has happened to me at various other movies as well. Captain America, for instance, I didn't like it. And the next time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is actually quite cool. So that may happen also. It's all about expectations. You know, if people build up the hype and you're like, you expect the second coming of the Black Panther, and the movie doesn't deliver. If you go in with slightly lower expectations, that's why I give you this review, then you may actually enjoy it more than I did at the first viewing. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy the movie. And if you do, please let me know what you thought. And perhaps you don't agree or you agree. Let me know in the comments. Of course, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to hear more of these episodes, go to our Trideo website over at trideo.com. Trideo.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.